What's your name, please? Kana, nice to meet you, Kana. How are you today? That's good to know. Right, so as you can see here, Kana, your last progress for your Kana method was in stage 5, you were paragraph 325 on your last head word is in progress of reading stage 4, paragraph 213 on your last head word is changed. Is that correct? Okay, so now let's do our revision. Okay, let's start. Okay, do you think people should be more polite in the shops and streets? Do you think more people should be more polite in shops and streets? Yes, I think people should be more polite in the shops and streets. Do you agree that students should study hard? Do you agree that students should study hard? Yes, I agree that students should study hard. Do you agree that young people should help the old? Do you think that young people should help the old? Yes, I agree that young people should help the old. What should we do when somebody is dangerously ill? What should we do when somebody is dangerously ill? When somebody is dangerously ill, we should immediately call an ambulance. What do you think you should do if you want to make a lot of money? What do you think you should do if you want to make a lot of money? If I want to make a lot of money, I think I should. Do you correct your dictations during the lesson? Do you correct your dictations during the lesson? Yes, no? I don't correct my dictations during the lesson. I correct them after the lesson. In a kind of method lesson, does the teacher correct your grammatical mistakes? In a kind of method lesson, does the teacher correct your grammatical mistakes? Yes, in a kind of method lesson, the teacher corrects my grammatical mistakes. How can we correct our mistakes in our pronunciation? How can we correct our mistakes in our pronunciation? We can correct our mistakes in our pronunciation by listening and speaking as much as possible. If you have a problem with a colleague at work, should you speak to your boss about it? If you have a problem with a colleague at work, should you speak to your boss about it? Yes, if I have a problem with a colleague at work, I should speak to my boss about it. Can smoking cause health problems? Can smoking cause health problems? Yes, smoking can cause health problems. In history, have many people died for the causes of freedom and justice? In history, have many people died for the causes of freedom and justice? Yes, in history, many people have died for the causes of freedom and justice. As we have now studied about 1,000 words and a lot of grammar, can you hold a simple conversation in English? As we have now studied about 1,000 words and a lot of grammar, can you hold a simple conversation in English? Yes, as we have now studied about 1,000 words and a lot of the grammar, I can hold a simple conversation in English. As you are not tall enough to reach the ceiling, what would you have to do if you wanted to reach it? As you are not tall enough to reach the ceiling, what would you have to do if you wanted to reach it? As I am not tall enough to reach the ceiling, I would have to put a chair on the table and stand on the chair if I wanted to reach it. Give a sentence with that is in it. Give a sentence with that is in it. Everybody loves that film. That is everybody I've spoken to. We will go to the cinema this evening. That is if we have enough money. Have you ever broken any of your bones or any of the bones in your body? Have you ever broken any of the bones in your body? Yes, no? I've never broken any of the bones in my body. What's the plural of life? What's the plural of life? The plural of life is lives. Do you think the people, or do you think the lives of the poor are happier than those of the rich? Do you think the lives of the poor are happier than those of the rich? Yes, no? I don't think the lives of the poor are happier than those of the rich. I think they're less happy. Make a sentence with the word although in it. Make a sentence with the word although in it. Although the food was not very nice, I ate it because I was hungry. I ate it because I was hungry. Although you're not able to hold a simple conversation in English, do you think you should keep studying? Although you're not able to hold a simple conversation in English, do you think you should keep studying? Yes, although I'm not able to hold simple conversation in English, I think I should keep studying. Are some people always happy although they have problems in their lives? Are some people always happy although they have problems in their lives? Yes, some people are always happy although they have problems in their lives. Is there a restaurant near there that cooks tasty food? Is there a restaurant near there that cooks tasty food? Yes or no? There's a restaurant near here that cooks tasty food. Is it difficult to cook pasta? Is it difficult to cook pasta? No, it isn't. Difficult to cook pasta. It's easy. Are you a good cook? Are you a good cook? Yes, no? I'm a good cook. Do you think that all the countries of the world should be independent? Do you think that all the countries of the world should be independent? Yes, no? I think that all the countries of the world, not country, countries of the world should be independent. Many European languages have their origins in Latin. Do you think European languages have their origins in Latin? Yes, many European languages have their origins in Latin. Why don't you take this book home with you after the lesson? Why don't you take this book home with you after the lesson? I don't take that book home with me after the lesson because it doesn't belong to me. Who does this pen belong? Who does this pen belong to? That pen belongs to you. In a factory, if a factory belonged to you, do you think you would be able to make a lot of money? If a factory belonged to you, do you think you would be able to make a lot of money? Yes, if a factory belonged to me, I think I would be able to make a lot of money. So what can we use instead of would be able in conditional sentences? What can we use instead of would be able in conditional sentences? We can use could instead of would be able in conditional sentences. Give me an example, please. Give me an example, please. If I was a bird, I could fly. Now I'm going to ask you some questions with could, and you answer with would be able and vice versa. If you were very, very tall, could you touch the ceiling? If you were very, very tall, could you touch the ceiling? Yes, if I were very, very tall, I would be able to touch the ceiling. If you were a doctor, would you be able to help people who were ill? If you were a doctor, would you be able to help people who were ill? Yes, if I were a doctor, I could help people who were ill. If you were as strong as a horse, could you lift a man above your head with only one hand? If you were as strong as a horse, could you lift a man above your head with only one hand? Yes, if I were as strong as a horse, I would be able to lift a man above my head with only one hand. Example, the window. What am I doing? What am I doing? You're going to throw your pen at the window. Do you think you could throw a stone farther than I can? Do you think you could throw a stone farther than I can? Yes, no? I think I could throw a stone farther than you can. Is Napoleon alive? Is Napoleon alive? No, Napoleon isn't alive. He's dead. You're dropping your pen on the table. What's the pen doing? What's the pen doing? Your pen's dropping on the table. What would happen if I dropped a glass on the floor? What would happen if I dropped a glass on the floor? If you dropped a glass on the floor, it What's the longest that you have ever gone without drinking a drop of water? What's the longest that you have ever gone without drinking a drop of water? The longest I've ever gone without drinking a drop of water is... What happened to President Kennedy? What happened to President Kennedy? President Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. Did anything unusual happen to you yesterday? Did anything unusual happen to you yesterday as well? Nothing unusual happened to me yesterday. Is it usual for people in your country to eat hot food for breakfast? Is it usual for people in your country to eat hot food for breakfast? Yes, no? It's usual for people in my country to eat hot food for breakfast. Is it usual for children to find coffee tasty? Is it unusual for people to find coffee tasty? Yes, it's unusual for children to find coffee tasty. What's the difference between still and yet? What's the difference between still and yet? The difference between still and yet is that we use still for something that is in progress at the moment, whereas we use yet for something that has not begun or happened. We generally use still in positive sentences, whereas we generally use yet in questions and negative sentences. Give me some examples, please. It's still winter. It isn't spring yet. Has the lesson finished yet? The lesson finished yet? No, the lesson hasn't finished yet. It's still in progress. It's still in progress. Have we finished speaking yet? Finished, we haven't. Finished speaking yet. We're still speaking. Have they gone home yet? No, they haven't gone home yet. They're still there. Has the winter begun yet? Has the winter begun yet? No, the winter hasn't begun yet. It's still autumn. Will I still be in this country in 2 weeks' time? Will I still be in this country in 2 weeks' time? Yes, you'll still be in that country in 2 weeks' time. Right, so now let's have our new word. Please repeat. Special. Special. Yes. And listen. Special is an adjective. It means not ordinary or usual, but different in some way and often better and more important. For example, today is an ordinary day. It's nothing special. Repeat. Clean. Dirty. Dirty. Dirt. Know of. Know of. Clean is an adjective. It means without any dirt, marks, etc. For example, after washing, our hands are clean. Dirty is an adjective. It means not clean. It's the opposite of clean. For example, before washing, our hands are dirty. The bottoms of our shoes aren't clean. They're dirty. Dirt is a noun. It means anything that makes things dirty, such as mud or dust. For example, I think the dirt of the country is less unpleasant than the dirt of the city, of the farm, etc. Know of is a phrasal verb. It means to know that someone or something exists and who, what, or where they are. For example, I think Calgary in Canada is the cleanest city I know of. Next sentence. Are the bottoms of your shoes clean? Are the bottoms of your shoes clean? No, the bottoms of my shoes aren't clean. They're dirty. When our shoes are dirty, what should we do? When our shoes are dirty, what should we do? When our shoes are dirty, we should clean them. Which do you think is the cleanest city you know of? Which do you think is the cleanest city you know of? I think it's the cleanest city I know of. Tokyo. I think Tokyo is the cleanest city I know of. And which do you think is the dirtiest? And which do you think is the dirtiest? I think city is the dirtiest. Which do you think is less unpleasant, the dirt of the city or the dirt of the country, of the farm, etc.? Which do you think is less unpleasant, the dirt of the city or the dirt of the country, of the farm, etc.? I think the dirt of the is less unpleasant than the dirt of the country, of the farm, etc. Repeat, to be afraid. To be afraid means to be frightened of something or someone. For example, I was afraid of the dark when I was a little child. People shake when they feel very afraid. Let's practice. Do you remember if you were afraid of the dark when you were a little child? Do you remember if you were afraid of the dark when you were a little child? Yes, no? I remember I was afraid of the dark when I was a little child. Would you be afraid to go round the world in a small open boat? Would you be afraid to go round the world in a small open boat? Yes, no? I would be afraid to go round the world in a small open boat. Do people shake when they feel very afraid? Do people shake when they feel very afraid? Yes, people shake when they feel very afraid. Repeat, guard. On your guard. Off your guard. Listen. Guard is a verb. It means to keep safe from harm. Watch over or protect something from happening. For example, the best way to guard against becoming ill is to eat food, sleep well, and to exercise. On your guard means you are being careful because you think a situation might become difficult or dangerous. For example, we must be on our guard when we buy something from man selling things in the street because maybe we won't be able to find him again if there's a problem with the thing we bought. Off your guard is the opposite of on your guard. Let's practice. What's the best way to guard against becoming ill? What's the best way to guard against becoming ill? The best way to guard against becoming ill is to eat healthy food, sleep well, and to exercise. Must we be on our guard when we buy something from men selling things in the street? Must we be on our guard when we buy something from men selling things in the street? Yes, we must be on our guard when we buy something from a man selling things in the street. Why? Because maybe we won't be able to find him again if there's a problem with the thing we've bought. What's the opposite of on your guard? What's the opposite of on your guard? The opposite of on your guard is off your guard. Repeat, calm. Quietly. Listen. Calm can be a verb and an adjective. As a verb, it means to become quiet and relaxed after you have been angry, excited, nervous, or upset. As an adjective, it means relaxed and quiet, not angry, nervous, or upset. For example, we're having calm weather at the moment. Quietly is an adverb. It means without making much noise, in a way that does not attract attention. For example, the best way to calm somebody down when he's very angry is to speak quietly and pleasantly to him. Let's practice. What's the best way to calm somebody down when he's very angry? What's the best way to calm somebody down when he's very angry? The best way to calm somebody down when he is very angry is to speak quietly and pleasantly to him. Are you having a calm weather at the moment? Are you having a calm weather at the moment? Yes, no? We're having a calm weather at the moment. Repeat. If I were king, person. Listen. In the second conditional, we can use the verb to be in the past simple and say if I was, if you were, if he was, etc. Or we can use were for all persons and say if I were, if you were, if he were, etc. The second form is perhaps more common. King is a noun. A king is a man who rules a country because of his royal birth. For example, if I were king, my wife would be called a queen. Person is used in English grammar to describe the person and the verbs and pronouns that refer to different people in a conversation. First person, we use I, we, us, etc. Second person, we use you, they, etc. Third person, we use he, she, it, etc. Let's practice. What are the two common ways, or what are the two ways of forming the second conditional with the verb to be? What are the two ways of forming the second conditional with the verb to be? The two ways of forming the second conditional with the verb to be are if I was and if I were. And if I were. Okay. So now let's do your reading. So please start reading from paragraph 250. Sorry to cutting off and all the questions. So this is in your progress. Stage 5, paragraph 328, and your last head word is person. I've already stage 4, paragraph 217, and your last head word is geographic. Thank you so much, Anna, for taking my class and for making me part of your learning progress. I really appreciate that you try to answer the question as quick and as much as you can, and you also read the question and answer well, so that's good. So just keep practicing and keep learning. See you next time. Keep safe always. Bye bye. Good night.